Hello and welcome to our fourth lesson. Imagine you have practiced almost half of the course and now we are on our fourth lesson. I congratulate you. Great progress so far. Let's see what we are going to learn today. We are going to look at management-defined performance measures and to see what are these measures and what new requirements IFRS 18 has regarding these measures. But first things first, we need to look our objectives today. And we have, of course, 5 objectives. Let me quickly list that for you. What is management-defined performance measure and why ISB has these new disclosure requirements? What are the 3 criteria that must be met simultaneously, so as we say we have management-defined performance measure? What specific disclosures must companies provide so as to comply with IFRS 18? Which commonly used subtotals are specifically excluded being regarded as management-defined performance measure? And our last objective would be, how should companies systematically identify management-defined performance measures and disclose them? Because it's not just one-time exercise you once identified and that's it. It should be an ongoing process, and we will discuss that during our 5th objective, when we tackle our 5th objective. Wonderful. Now let's see what are these management-defined performance measures and why ISB has to include a new requirement in IFRS 18. I hope you remember from our first lesson that investors were complaining about the lack of information, lack of clarity of these measures, and they couldn't really understand why it's important and how these measures are calculated. And that's why ISB, to tackle this problem, has this new requirement where it says management-defined performance measures are subtotals of income and expenses that management communicates publicly and wants to provide its overview about company's performance as a whole, but it's not a measure that is required by IFRS standard, and it's also not excluded explicitly as being management-defined performance measure. As we see, the definition is there and it's pretty clear what should fall under this category. And let's go one step back to see what was the problem if we don't have any definition and when we don't have special requirements for this kind of measures, what should be disclosed. Before these requirements, entities would publish or communicate this kind of measures without giving clear guidance how this was calculated, how the measures were arrived. Or the calculations or methodology would be in sublines and lost. Other problem was that different entities would use different management-defined performance measures. And when investors have not this clear guidance, they couldn't really compare one company to another. Next problem was changing definitions. The same company could apply differently the same measure and kind of trying to produce favorable result, introduce the company under favorable right, which of course would be misleading for investors. Another also important problem was that some countries had regulation for this kind of measures and other countries did not. So this is another dilemma for investors to identify what is important, what they can use for their evaluations and what can be excluded. All this in mind, IFRS 18 gave us a solution defining, as I already explained, what is management-defined performance measures and giving some disclosure requirements, saying that management-defined performance measures